The Class 108 DMU was introduced by British Railways in 1958. These were formed of 2, 3 and 4 car sets and were updated versions of the Derby lightweights of 1954, with 333 cars being built by 1961. Each car was 58.1 feet long and weighed 23.7 to 32.5 tons each. Its 150 horsepower engine gave the class a top speed of 70 miles an hour. On the evening of the 3rd of June 1964, a Class 108 DMU was heading towards Bradford Exchange Station. This was the 1625 Manchester Victoria to Leeds stopping train. This was a 2-car set, numbers M51944 and M52059. Together, they were 121 feet long and weighed 55.5 tons. Meanwhile, at Bradford Exchange Station, the 1747 parcel train from Bradford to King's Cross, London, was standing at platform 4. This train consisted of 6 wagons, of which 3 were large bogie vans being pulled by an unidentified 460 steam engine, believed to be an ex-NMS Black 5. As the DMU ran through Bowling Tunnel, passenger D.N. Hudson, a traction control designer for English Electric, was growing uneasy as to the train's speed and braking. As they approached Mill Lane Junction, he could see driver J.A. Smith looking down the line at some workmen in the distance, and make what seemed to be a full movement on the brake handle. He repeated this action 5 or 6 times, and seemed to be disturbed, and he began a series of blasts on the train's horn. Realizing that something was deeply wrong, Hudson began moving to the rear of the train and encouraged his fellow passengers to follow. At Mill Lane Junction signal box, signalman T.P. Carroll saw the DMU approach. At this point, it should not have been going any more than 30 miles per hour. And on this occasion even less, as the next signal for the DMU was at danger, but the train shot past at around 50 miles an hour. Carroll didn't hear any brake application from the DMU and sent the train running away in the right direction signal to Bradford Exchange box before telephoning them. In Bradford Exchange signal box, signalman H. Scott and C. Searle were on duty at the time, and heard the train running away signal. Searle received the telephone call from Carroll and was filled in. At this point, the points had already been set for platform 4 from a previous movement, and there was no time to change them. At the same time, Scott moved to get a better view up the line. He heard the horn being sounded before the train appeared from under Croft Street Bridge. He could see driver Smith, whom he knew well, sitting upright at his controls, head erect, eyes open, and his face impassive. The DMU raced past the box before entering the station and colliding with the parcel train at around 50 miles an hour. The parcel train had its brakes fully on during the collision, with the result that the steam engine telescoped 28 feet into the first car of the DMU, destroying the driver's and forward passenger compartments. The second car of the DMU and the parcel train as a whole were virtually undamaged, with both being able to drive away under their own power. Driver Smith and a passenger were killed in the collision, with the second passenger dying later in hospital. In addition, 17 passengers were injured, 13 seriously. The crew of the parcel train, who were caught out on the footplate, escaped injury. The emergency services were summoned immediately, with the first units arriving within 6 minutes, and the injured being taken away within 30 minutes of their arrival. Crews and a steam crane from Wakefield arrived by the evening, with the line being cleared by 2:30 a.m. the following morning. A report into the accident by Colonel J.R.H. Robertson was published in September of 1964. Attention first fell on the brakes of the DMU. The ones on the second car were undamaged and showed to be in working order. The ones on the second car were removed and reassembled for testing. While they worked, it was noted that a number of the components had to be replaced before the tests, as they had been destroyed in the collision. So a failure of these components cannot be ruled out. Of the intact components, the only fault that could be found was a slight leak in one of the 4 brake cylinders, which may have made the brakes softer. This, however, was judged insufficient to cause a brake failure, and the attention fell on the driver. Driver Smith was described by his colleagues as being a very conscientious driver, with a strong sense of responsibility towards his passengers, and it seemed inconceivable that he would allow his train to get away from him. Also, his actions in the moment before the collision were baffling. If there was a problem with the brakes, why didn't Smith try to cut the train's speed by putting the train into reverse? Why did he not warn his passengers or make any attempt to protect himself before the collision? An autopsy conducted by Coroner R.S. Bishop would shine light on what likely happened. Whilst his cause of death was from injuries sustained in the collision, Driver Smith had suffered a heart attack at some point before the crash. It turned out that Smith had coronary atheroma, a build-up of fatty deposits, cholesterol and cellular debris on the inside walls of the arteries supplying blood to the heart, which wasn't detected in previous medicals. Exactly when he suffered this heart attack couldn't be established, but the consensus is that he either missed his breaking point at Mill Lane Junction, and the mental shock of which caused him to have a heart attack, or the attack happened before Mill Lane, possibly at Bowling Tunnel, but with no explanation about what induced the attack. Either way, the heart attack would have left Smith in a state of agony, and in such a state that he lost control of his train. There were 2 other things that could have prevented the disaster. First of which was a safety device known colloquially as the dead man's handle, which was fitted to the regulator. For those who don't know, this device requires the driver to push down on the regulator while using it. If it's released, the regulator swings back, cuts the power and applies the brakes. Consultant physician Dr. Graham Hayward, whom Colonel Robertson consulted, believes that the pain of the heart attack caused Driver Smith to clutch the regulator in such a way that the safety device could not activate. The other thing that could have stopped the train was the train's guard, J.G. Hensel. He had access to the train's vacuum brake in the guard's compartment, but did not use it, even when it became clear that something was wrong when the passengers began moving to the rear. Hensel would claim that the gauge of the vacuum brake showed 0, and thus the brakes weren't working, but Colonel Robertson found his evidence unconvincing, and concluded that Hensel had not obeyed Rule 148A, where a guard on a passenger train approaching a terminal station must carefully watch the running of the train and take any action that may be necessary. Colonel Robertson finished his report with the following. This was a most unfortunate accident in that the misadventure that was its cause stemmed from the coincidence of a number of unfavourable factors, each of which would by itself be remarkable. These were the driver's heart condition, and the fact that he had been specifically examined for it and found fit, his having a heart attack at such a particular dangerous point on a very steep gradient into a terminal station, and the chances of the brake handle being left in the full release position, and the driver in his agony clutched a safety device and not his body. Such a coincidence is unlikely to occur again. Car M51944 was well beyond repair, and was officially withdrawn on the 14th of November 1964, where it was scrapped at Derby Works shortly afterwards.